Hello everyone, today we will understand for loop in Python. So a for loop in Python is used to iterate over sequences like lists, tuples, strings or ranges. It allows us to perform actions on each item in a sequence. So for loop, guys, first of all, what is the meaning of loop? General meaning of loop is if we keep on doing repeatedly the same thing is in a loop. Exactly same thing. If you in a loop, if you want to fetch the data repeatedly, then you will be using loops in Python. What is list, what is tuples, what is strings, that I have already discussed in my previous videos. I would recommend you to go back and look into those videos to understand just the meaning of them. Otherwise, how to fetch data from them we'll understand today with the help of for loop. So what is syntax of for loop? For variable in sequence. Sequence can be anything. It could be any variable, any list, tuple, strings. You can fetch data from there. The data will go to variable and will be printed if you have written that in block of code. We'll understand that better. First, let's understand what is meaning of this where. Variable represents the current item in the sequence during each iteration. Guys, what is iteration means? Fetching. Multiple times if you are fetching, these called, like if I want to fetch data 10 times, then it's 10 iterations. If I want to fetch data 15 times, 15 iterations. So in variables, if I am fetching data from sequence, so first time when I am putting it in variable, one iteration, second iteration, third iteration, and so on. Sequence, the iterable object being looped through. So this is sequence is an object through which we are fetching the data. I'll show you this with the help of one example. So let's say I want to declare one list, and for that I will write, let's say, fruits. Okay, so let's declare some fruits here. So I'm writing apple, cherries in quotes. It's a string, so I'm putting it into quotes. Orange. Now let's convert that syntax into actual example. So for I can declare any variable here, I, in. Now this is variable in, and now I have to specify the sequence. So sequence is fruits. That's the name of my list which I have declared here. So fruit. So after that colon, enter. Now you can write it's fruits. Let me fix that. Fruits, and then colon. After that, you can write your code of block. So print I. Now look at this. Let's execute and first see the result. See, apple, cherries, orange. So I can fetch the elements inside this list. So how? Let's see. As I've told you, this is a variable. So every time the iteration will happen, this sequence will give value to this iteration, and then it will print it. So first, value in the fruits, that is this list, is apple. So first apple will go to I and I will be printed. Then cherries will go to I will be printed. Orange will go to I and orange is printed. This is how for loop works. You can also use two keywords here. I'll just name them. One is called break and second is continue. Both break and continue can be used with both for loop and while loop. Guys, when we talk about looping statements, we have two loops, for loop and while loop. So break and continue can be used with both of them. How we use break and continue and what is the meaning of them? Let's understand that. So let's say I want to say whenever fruit will be equal to cherries, then stop the loop then and there and exit the loop. If you want to break the loop, if you want to exit the loop forever, then the statement you can use in between is break. Let's see how we use it. So I'm using the same example here. So let me use it here. So for fruits are this. For I in fruits, we understand till here. Now I want to write if I is equal to cherries, then break, then break. Let's see how it works. Before that, let me put colon here and let's see how it works. See, when apple get into I is not equal to apple, this continued and printed. But when the second value came into I, that is cherries, Whenever I is equal to cherries, it broke and exited the loop and nothing was printed. So it is called break. You can also use continue here. Continue is to skip a particular value. So in this case, if let's say in interview they ask you, I want to display 1 to 10 but want to skip 8 in it, or I want to display all the fruits but want to skip cherries in this case. So for that you can use continue. Look at that. See, apple is displayed, orange is displayed, but cherries is not. Why? Let's understand how continue works. So for I in fruits, that means all the values will go in I. So first apple went into I, displayed, then cherries went into I. So we are also putting one condition that whenever I is cherries, then continue. That means for that one iteration where the condition is true, the loop will be skipped and then it will go for the third iteration. So here the third iteration is orange. So orange in I, it is not equal to cherries and it is printed. So whenever you write continue, the loop is continued but it will be skipped for that condition which you have mentioned here. So the loop will discontinue for a moment. Temporarily it will discontinue whenever this condition is true. The condition whichsoever you have mentioned, whenever it is true, it will skip the iteration for that moment and again go to I for the third iteration. If in this case third iteration, because second iteration is that iteration where the condition is true. So this is how break and continue works. So with for loop you can also use one keyword called range. So we'll understand how range works. Range always tells for loop till what range you want to display the values. I'll show you with an example. Let's say for I in range, and in range you will declare the value. So first is starting value, second is ending value. Ending value is very important, it's mandatory, and you can specify the third value, and third is steps. We'll understand practically first. Now print I. Let's see how it works. Look at this. It displayed 1 to 9. But you said ending value should be 10. Then why 1 to 9? There's a rule in range. Range says I'll include the first value but the last value will be excluded. First value is included in a range and stopping value, the value where you want it to stop, is always excluded. So 10 will not come in it. But if you want 1 to 10 to be displayed, then always increment it by 1. Now see, you get 1 to 10. So always your ending value should be plus 1. So this is how it is displayed. Now what is the meaning of this 1? This 1 is telling that, what should be the sequence. You want it to be incremented by 1 or 2. Let's say I'm writing 2 here. Let's see. Look at this. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. I want it till 10 because 11 you understand, right? 11 won't be included. So it will be till 10. So if you keep on adding 2. So 2 means with which number you want that loop to be added and incremented and then display the value. So 2. 1 plus 2, 3, 5, 7, 9. So this is how range works. Now let's understand one practical example, real-time example of for loop. As I've told you guys, loops are really important if we want to do some repeated task, or there is one sequence and from that sequence I want to transfer the values, add the values, we want to do some multiplication from the sequence. The for loop works very well with that. Now, what could be the practical example for that? Practical example is, let's say I want to buy 4 items in e-commerce website. Let's say I'm declaring a variable called items and assigning some values to it. So let me give space, then assign some value. Let's say $100, comma $30, comma $50, $60. So this is how I declare the values. Now I'm declaring a variable total, assigning 0 to it just to declare a variable. And now here I'm writing for, this is for loop, value in, val is a variable, in items, colon, And here now I'm writing total. This total variable I've declared. Now I have to add values in it. So I'll write assign and add val. After that, print total prices, and then I'll declare a variable total. Let's execute it and see. Total is 240. So let's understand this. First of all, I declare the item. So what happened in the back end is whenever you buy something, all the prices are fetched and put it in a list. Then there is one variable declared as total. We are saying all the items one by one, do the iterations and put the value in val. And now keep on adding those values and put it in a total variable. At the end, please display the total variable. So we are saying total is the value. So this is how for loop actually works to transfer the item, add items and display it in front of you. So this is how for loop works, guys. That's all about for loops. In our next video, we'll understand while loop. Thank you.